Maria Edgeworth Festival this afternoon, and we have Chele from Crawley here. Chele lives in Mullingar, and she works in Mullingar. She's at a primary school, yeah. And she's coming here today to talk about her novel that she wrote, Lady Dixon, please. And so I'm Elizabeth. Hello, this is Melissa. This is Maria Edgeworth, actually. I'm Elizabeth, and I'm going to be asking Chele some questions that she's given me here. So you'll have a really in-depth knowledge about Chele and her lovely novel when you leave. Okay, so thank you for coming this afternoon. But on those stairs coming up is Janine is the girl who works in the office here, and she has done some letters and words on the step. What's that called? The step, is it? The riser. I'm going to say the riser. Yeah. So people come as visitors, they leave as friends. Mm. So yeah, I thought that was wonderful. Yeah, it happened to me too. Anyway, and thanks to Elaine for doing all the, yes, right. So we'll get started. Yeah. Thank you for coming, and we'll have a lovely time there with Chele. Okay. How long will you be?
About 45 minutes.
Yeah. If you have to leave, that's no problem. Is that all right? Yeah. All right. Don't be worrying. Huh? Okay. So Chele, can you tell us a little bit about your novel?
Lady Dixon Speaks.
Yeah.
So it's a historical fiction novel with romantic element, and as you can see up there, I'm going to talk later about swooning for Regency Romance. So the novel is set in the Regency Era in England. It follows my protagonist, 18-year-old Annalise Smith, when she's invited by her aunt, who's well-to-do, in Hertfordshire, to spend a summer and trade her agrarian lifestyle in Devonshire for the glitz and glam of high society. She thinks this is going to be her ticket to social mobility, that she's going to be socially mobile, socially upwardly mobile. Of course, when she arrives, she realises that the path to society comes at a cost of compass, because she is asked to basically put on a facade and to pretend that she is and has always been of society, even though they are actually from an inferior status. They're from an agrarian background. And while the family were rich at one time, they have lost their money through different bad investments and such forth. So she finds herself kind of under a cloak of deception from the very get-go in order to try and attract a rich husband. That probably has echoes to Maria Edgeworth's Belinda as well.
Yeah.
You speak a little louder.
A little louder, no
yes,
problem.
We can't hear back here.
Okay. So yeah, absolutely. What happens? She has to deal with a saccharine tongue neighbourhood creep, like a real Mr. Collins type character, who's trying to get her interested in becoming his wife, and she's trying to dodge him at the same time. Find a rich husband. She has to navigate challenging social conventions and deal with a cunning blackmailer who threatens to expose her secret. And of course, as with any Regency romance, there is romance. She finds herself falling for a kind and unassuming son of a baron, but as soon as that happens, the burden of the lie becomes too great for her. And it intensifies. And as readers, you're waiting on tenterhooks for the moment that it's all going to come tumbling down. And you know from the very get-go, it is going to come tumbling down for her. But the beauty in it is how and when.
Very good. And do you think she has the type of character, she wants to try something out, these social morals and mores? Is she testing?
I suppose for her, she's from an agrarian background. She's 18. She knows at the very start of the novel, you're told, she knows that her family have a marriage in mind for her with a local farmer. And she just wants an adventure. She has been educated quite well for somebody from her background because her father grew up as a gentleman. And so he has taught her to dance and he has insisted upon a tutor. So she has quite a good level of education, and I suppose she just feels that she wants to use it and try and elevate her social position. So she relishes this opportunity, and she doesn't want to leave at any cost. She wants to stay there with her aunt, and she wants to explore this for as long as possible. But of course, there's that kind of faint little line of, well, at what cost is she doing this? Because she is starting to tell a lie, and the more she spins that web of deceit, the further entranced she is in it, and the bigger the issue, and the higher the stakes.
Very good. So you yourself, Chele, you grew up in a town in the west of Ireland.
did.
What town was that?
I grew up in Swinford, and it's a small little market town in East Mayo. But actually, while it's far removed from Regency, England, it was what you would call like a designed or planted town, in that the Bravison family, so they were a prominent Anglo-Irish family, they actually designed and founded the town essentially. And there was a great big house, and actually it was behind my house growing up.
Right.
It's called Bravison Park, and I lived on Park Road, which was Bravison Park Road. And while I'm just slightly too young to remember the house, because it was demolished in 1980, and I am an 80s baby, I have seen loads of pictures over the years. When you go to school, you learn about the influence of the Bravison family, and one of the family was an MP for Vale, William Bravison. So I suppose I grew up hearing a lot about that family. And also my grandfather grew up in a manor home in Knock in County Mayo, Churchfield House. And while it did leave the family because of financial arrears and difficulties, as children we were brought, and the family who bought Churchfield House were so good, they let us into the house anytime we wanted to go and see it. Where Grandad grew up, we got to go. We'd bring like cousins and different people to see where Grandad grew up, and they let us wander around the house. And for a while it was a hotel, which made it much easier for us to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had free access. Like they would let us in, which was so good of them. Like I couldn't imagine me doing that for people, but it was great. And I guess I grew up with all those kind of stories, and it was percolating in my brain. And then when I was about 11, I decided to learn to play the piano, and I got a keyboard from Santa. And as you know, with keyboards, they have these little excerpts of classical music on them, and that would have been my first exposure to classical music. Because I grew up in the west of Ireland, where Midwest radio was gospel. I mean, it was in every kitchen in the country, and that was it. There was no change of channel. It was Midwest or nothing, which, as you know, probably from Shannon's side, a lot of it be country western music and things like that. So classical music didn't really feature. There was no Lyric FM back then. But this was my first kind of foray into it, and I just loved it. When I'm dancing around the sitting room, I should have been practicing my scales, but I was dancing around the sitting room, and I was coming up with this idea, like, what if there was this girl who didn't actually belong in society, but she could do the dances, and she could talk the talk. How far would she get? And from that, I got the kernel of the story. And actually, when I was about 14, I said, I'm going to put this down on paper. And I'm showing my age because I typed it on a word processor. I put it on a floppy disk. You remember the floppy disk?
Yeah.
And I still have that floppy disk today.
Yeah.
It is terrible. It is so bad. But it is the first maybe I'd say quarter of the book. The storyline is very similar to what it was then. The characters are the same, but it's obviously evolved. And when I was younger, I was really, children and teenagers can often see things that's really like Disneyfied. So like the evil character and the good character, one is very like bad, one is very good. In life, we learn as we get older that people are actually quite grey and in the middle, and most people are flawed, and there's good things about people and bad things. So as over time in my head, when I was percolating about the story, I realised the characters needed to be flawed as well. And couldn't just be one good. You know, in Disney, like there's a good cat and a bad one. Couldn't have that. So yeah, over time it evolved. And I guess I had a lot of journeys coming from Dublin. I went to university in Dublin on a bus, and I had a lot of time to think about this story. And I kept saying, one day, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And then one day I did.
Here you are. Yeah.
It's taken a long time, like I'm nearly 40, but here I am.
Very well. I think that answer was really good in terms of helping us to understand where Chele is coming from, her roots and all those memories of the big houses and the people she lived around. Kind of influenced her. I think that's spot on in terms of explaining.
Obviously, like any small country town, it's so far removed from Regency, but the little stories, the history, it weaves its way in. And I suppose they kind of I was inspired by that, and that is the section of history that I just found myself drawn towards very much.
Yeah. What did you study at
I
university?
studied communication studies.
You didn't do history.
I didn't do history, no.
So
I
communication.
did communications,
Yeah.
and then I worked as a reporter for the Westmeath Topic for a number of years, and for papers in Sligo as well. And then I went back to do teaching. It was around the time of the downturn, and money was tight, and I just thought, so teaching is a great way of having summer holidays. Indulge in writing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's lovely. And it's very conducive to family life. And I have a little girl. Yeah, it's a great job if you can get it.
Yeah, it is a good job. It is. By the way, I have a niece called Annalise.
Do you?
I read about her. Oh.
And does she spell it the way I do?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So I thought I've never heard that name before, but now here it is in a book. So
Yeah,
I
it's a
tell her
lovely
about
name.
it. Yeah, it is a lovely name.
Yeah, she'll have
Yeah,
to read it now.
she
See if
will.
she's anything like our
I
Annalise.
will, and I'll ask her for a write up about the comparison between yourself and Annalise in the book. Okay, thanks very much, Chele. So here you have your next question. You've got fake it till you make it. This is a common expression used today to empower people when they're embarking on a new career or an enterprise. So you just go for it, fake it, and then everybody will believe you, you'll be grand. But would you agree, Chele, that your protagonist, Annalise Schmidt, embarked on her quest for social mobility with the same fervour?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
She has no choice. She wants to stay. She has to fake it till she makes it. And she gets a few lessons in elocution, and she gets a few lessons in table etiquette, but she needs that. I mean, she had quite a good grounding, but she needs to be fine-tuned.
Who gives you those
Her aunt,
stuff?
Lady Dixon, yes. And she has to pass Lady Dixon's test before she's allowed to enter into society at all. But yeah, absolutely. And I think I see parallels with authors as well, like yourself. When you're starting out, you really do have to fake it till you make it. Like,
Have you
I'm
done
no
it?
trick. I faked it now. I'm faking it here today every time. I was an ordinary person, but you have to believe in yourself, and you have that voice always saying, "Oh no, you're not a real author. Like, you're just somebody who likes to write stories about women who dressed up years ago in lovely dresses." But you have to start believing that, yeah, okay, I've made a product. It's going well. I'm faking it till I make it, and then maybe eventually I'll get used to this gig.
Yeah,
I hope I don't
Yeah.
have the same butterflies in my stomach every time.
Oh, but maybe that'll ease.
Yes,
with
that's the plan.
Yeah, a lot of people will relate to that, We're all kind of flawed in that sense. You make it until you, or do it until you, fake it until you make
Until
it.
you get used to it at least.
I can't even say it properly, Fake it until you make it, that's it. Yeah. So that, I think, is very interesting, because I'd like to ask you now, Chele, while you were faking it and making it, writing your novel and everything, and was there a specific moment that made you really sit down and say, I'm doing it this time?
Yeah, I suppose it was around 2018, and a girl that I went to university studying communication studies, her name is Susie Murphy. She's on book number 9. She's flying. She's a full-time writer. She brought out her debut novel, and it was historical fiction. And I used to sit beside her in creative writing class that we had in college, and we both knew that we both loved that class. And I just thought, oh God, she's amazing. I was completely blown away by her dialogue, her language, how good it was. And I just thought, I just need to get my story really down on paper. Like, I had the version from when I was a child, but that wasn't good, really wasn't good. And I was like, didn't even think at that time that I wanted to release it to anybody. I just thought a life ambition would be just to have it there. Maybe my daughter or somebody in years to come will want to read it. And that was it. I just wanted to get it down on paper, but to a level that was readable, say. And the thing about when you start writing is people start to find out that you're doing this. Pandemic happened.
Oh, the pandemic.
And people were like, "Oh, how are you spending your time?" And everyone was making banana bread, and I was there typing away. People were like, "What are you doing?" And people just are a bit nosy. I'm like, "What are you doing?" As soon as they find out that you're writing, the pressure intensifies, because then they're like, "I want to read it." And you're like, "Okay, no pressure." And then suddenly it has to be even better. And the standard keeps building. And then you start to read other people's work, and you start to think, "Oh, I'm nowhere near that standard. I need to work harder." So there was a lot of revisions, a lot of work went in. But I suppose it was 2018, seeing somebody else that I know do it and have success. I wanted to give it a go, And at the time I had no idea that I wanted to give it a go in such quite a large way, like out there to the whole world. But that's the kernel that started it. And now, like the sky's the limit, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, could you tell the audience, how you know that you've actually achieved it?
Well,
What happened to you? If you don't
how do I
mind
know I
asking.
achieved? Well, it got to #1 on Amazon, so that was amazing. And the reason, hopefully not a flash in the pan.
Exactly.
I'm hoping like one hit
We're
wonder.
going to have to fake it a bit.
I'm going to have to
You
make
are,
it
yeah.
a bit longer.
Fake
Yeah.
and make it.
Absolutely.
So that was wonderful to hear that. You
Yeah.
probably were surprised. I think I was reading about Chele online, that she's watching the figures going up, and then it's at the. Can you imagine that feeling?
Oh, it was surreal. So like I remember I released it on the 15th of April on Amazon, and I told people on social media basically. I hadn't really done any big splash about it beforehand. Just kind of said, I'll just see how it goes, thinking that I'll do an official launch later and we'll just see if there's any appetite out there. And I kind of said to myself that first day, it would be great if it got into the top 30 in Ireland. Like that'd be really lovely. But I wasn't expecting it. And by the time I went to bed that night, and obviously I would be mad busy trying to tell newspapers, tell people that this book is out there, right? I saw that it was 29, and I was like, oh my God. So then I didn't sleep, because then I was trying to wrap my brain. Who has reach? Do I know any bloggers? Do I know anybody in the media? And I tell them to please like and share. And like say I got about 2 hours sleep, and I got up and had a shower, tried to go to work, I was teaching, and I was eating my breakfast, and I was thinking about what do I need to do today to try and plug the book, what do I need to do for school, and all the bits and pieces to get my daughter out of school. And my sister rang about 7:30 in the morning. She goes, "You're #1." And I said, you're having it now. Come on.
I have to get the fan.
Because I had checked it about 5:30 when I woke up, and it was still at 29. And I was like, it's top 30. This is brilliant. And I went away with a big happy head at me. She goes, "No, you're #1." And I was like, "You're looking at it wrong. You're looking at it wrong. I'm telling you now, you're not looking at it right. It's just no way." And she goes, "Will you ever just log on there and have a look?" Had to look, and I literally was had to call my husband over, am I seeing things? And it was crazy. And it's brilliant. It's great. Yeah, it is. It was wonderful. And it stayed #1 for a few days, and it stayed #1 in historical fiction for weeks, and it's just wonderful. So it was a great start. So please God,
Yes,
it's going in the right trajectory.
Future. Yeah. You've already started writing again for
For
another.
book 2.
Yeah, that's
absolutely.
brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you are faking it.
I don't know. Read the book and see.
Well, Annalise, she had all the criticism and everything, but you go free.
Oh, thanks.
I know, sounds really wonderful. Thanks, Chele. Now, so what is it about historical fiction that really interests you and grabs you? Why do you think you are drawn to it? You might have touched on it a moment ago because of your childhood.
Obviously my childhood, just hearing about historical homes, but I think for me, I was always drawn to historical fiction. You might recall, some of you, in 1995, the BBC brought out an adaptation of Pride and Prejudice.
Yes.
And it was amazing. And I was only a child at the time, but I watched it and I was hooked. And from that very moment then I was like, I want to get Jane Austen books. And my mother was saying to me, "You're way too young to be reading those." But I did. I think I purchased every Jane Austen, 6 novels basically, by the time I was 12. So I was, and I'd read them, I just swallowed them. I just loved them. And I loved the Brontes, and I just loved the classics in general, and Dickens and all of those. Just love stories from the past. So I think it was only natural, if you love a genre and you're consuming that genre, you're going to write in that genre. Do you know?
It's like doing something you love.
Yeah, it comes natural.
Yeah.
And I spent so long learning all the, the Regency can't and all that over
Yeah.
the years. Sure, it'd be a waste of time if I didn't try and put it into practice.
Yeah, you wouldn't be yourself. would
No.
you? No. And it probably wouldn't come through in your stories because obviously you loving it.
Oh, and also
It comes through.
I can now put legitimacy to the fact that I watch, Pride and Prejudice several times a year,
Yeah.
Now it's just research.
Yeah, exactly. And so, can we guess who might have influenced your style?
Oh, Jane Austen, of course, Queen of Snark. And that's something I actually say. She's a really funny and witty writer. And I would never have considered myself a funny person. Like growing up as a child or a teenager, I would have said I was a funny person. I had comedic abilities. Now, I did do a lot of acting. I was on the stage doing farces and things like that. But I would never say as a person that I had that quick wit. But I joined a writing group in, I was about 22 or 23, Inklings in Mullingar. And what you'd get is a little prompt and you'd write maybe 600 words and you might get homework and do similar. What I noticed is everyone was laughing. And at first I was like, are they laughing at me? And then I realised, no, they're laughing at things in the story. And I realised actually I do have a kind of a humour, and it's that kind of snarky, kind of condescending humour, like Elizabeth Bennet had about things. And it's that kind of, Desperate Housewives. And have you seen Desperate Housewives? It starts with Mariella Young. She's the one who's been murdered, and it's her doing the narration. And she's kind of a little bit condescending about all the people in the neighbourhood. It's that kind of thing that I find weaves through my writing, whatever form of writing I'm doing. So yeah, it's that kind of like quietly laughing at things and poking fun at things, but in a kind of a lovable way.
Yeah.
Kind of get away with it sort of way.
Yeah.
So I love that about Jane Austen. Then I would say Georgette Hare. Like, anybody here fans of Georgette? Oh, just love her razor sharp dialogue and her wit. So I hope that I can emulate that a little bit, just a tiny bit. Like, I'm not there, they're up there as literary greats, but if I can take a little bit from them, I'm delighted with that.
I'm sure they'd be delighted to hear that.
They're great.
They won your heart over.
But I will say there's some fabulous historical fiction writers out there now. I don't know if anyone's read Suzanne Allen. She wrote on Mr. Malcolm's List. You see that on the TV, Mr. Malcolm's List? Brilliant, great humour in her writing. Sophia Holloway, just lovely Regency stories. So I like to take a little bit from every one of them. I mean, I'll just absorb it and take it in.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the success of Bridgerton
Yes.
on the telly, it has sparked a renewed mainstream interest in historical romance.
It sure has.
So yeah. So what do you think of this surge of interest in this genre?
I think it's brilliant. I think Bridgerton has brought so many people who were never readers of historical fiction or Regency fiction to it. Like, they've actually broadened the audience. Because I know so many people that watched the first series and then they were going, I have to wait 2 years to watch the second series. I want to know what happens. So then they ran out and bought Julia Quinn's books. And then they got through all of her 8 Bridgerton series, and maybe they read some of her other series that she does, because she has so many different series. And then they were like, well, what else is there? So it's created this appetite. So I can only see it as a good thing. It's absolutely brilliant. Yes, we'd all love to be Julia Quinn and sitting on her money, but from a lovely Netflix deal with Shonda Rhimes. But at the same time, she has absolutely brought people to it, and nobody can blame. We all benefit from that.
So do you think it has awakened in people a kind of curiosity about how people lived in the past and the nostalgia attached to it? But like, why do you think it has actually latched on to people's imagination?
Well, I'll tell you a little bit about that later on. I have some slideshows. But yes, you are right. There's 9 years. Regency Era, well, some people will argue that it's 1795 to 1830s. Really, you're talking about the time of Prince Regent. So this is the son of George III, who was the king. And unfortunately, George, as you might know if you did watch Queen Charlotte, the Bridgerton series, he was deemed unfit to rule because he was mentally incapacitated. So power went to his son, but because he wasn't George IV at the time, he was just Prince Regent governing, he wasn't really given full powers. So he had no say over economic policy. He had very limited role over the politics, really. So basically, he put all his energies into focusing on art and culture, design, and he had the rise of it. And you would have probably learned about it if you were here for the fashion of the dandy movement, the bow dandies, the men with their impeccably tailored outfits, the women with their fabulous headdresses, and there was a lot of, I suppose you'd say, luxury. You know, it was a time of great luxury, and he was really the poster boy for luxurious, high fashion, high artistic design, fabulous architecture, fabulous gilded furniture, and that's what you see on the screen. And that lends very well to the screen because there's real eye-catching pieces. But I suppose people are disproportionately obsessed with that era amongst all the other eras in history. And I think it's just because it was so extravagant. So it does, it's eye-catching. But I'll talk a little bit more about that later.
Okay. Yeah, I find that interesting myself. I'm just thinking, you know, people looking back into the past, seeing how people lived, if they were well off, it was great, you know, and they'd have all these undercurrents of conversation going on and different relationships. But to what extent, like, how does that fit in with modern day thinking? You know what I mean? Are they really engaging in a great amount of escapism?
It is escapism,
yeah.
And as I said, I'll talk a little bit
great.
more about it. But just to say, I think when we live in a time that there's wars going on, price of everything is going up, there's young people who are wondering if they'll ever get on the property market. You see a lot of doom and gloom. They're talking about AI taking jobs. You don't know what the future's going to hold. It's very murky. You don't know. So a lot of people feel that anxiety, and they just want to escape into a fantasy world for a little while and not have to think about everything that's actually going on in their life. And so you see in book talk and all that area, you would see a huge rise in romantasy, fantasy, because it's just a different world. But so too have you seen a rise in the interest in, say, Regency era fiction, because people just want to merge into a time that is different to now. And like, I hear feedback from people who say, oh, you transported me back. And I just got away from the housework and got away from everything that's going on. And that's nice. And we all need that little escape, don't we? So, I think that is part and parcel of it. I think you hit it on the nail there.
Yeah, but I'm also, I think the next question, I think she must have planned this out really, really well. The next question I want to ask, or not that I want, well, I do want to ask, but here it is. Anyway, how did you balance historical accuracy with storytelling and romance? You know, like the tension between those.
Yeah, so I'm a type of person, when I'm watching something, if it's not historically accurate, I'll start screaming at the telly, going, that wasn't the way it was, oh my god. So it was really important to me that what I wrote was accurate, and I still have nightmares that somebody is going to pull me up and say, oh, that's wrong. And like, that could happen, but I'm really hoping it went through rigorous checks and proofreads, and I had an editor, and had a lovely proofreader who went through, and between us I'm hoping that we caught anything that was a red flag. But yeah, I think it's really important when you're building a fictional world that you try and keep it as accurate as possible, and particularly to readers of historical fiction and Regency. They're intelligent readers, you know, and they like the detail to be correct.
Yeah.
And in just terms of the romance, well, it's just really important that I stayed within the constraints of the social codes of the time. So, I mean, it's not a full-on Regency romp, so I'm sorry if you look for Mills and Booze, the Regency era, it's not. Obviously, you want to put in a little bit of spice, but it's more of a slow burn. And I think we all like a slow burn, where we draw it, like, get excited about the little detail first, before you get the gratification.
Oh, well, we'll all have to go out and read it now. I haven't yet, but did you enjoy it?
Yes.
Oh yes, I did, yes. Anyway, I was going to say that this one, I've never heard this before, Chele, in a Regency era expression.
Yeah.
So what's your favourite Regency era expression or social custom?
Well, my favourite social custom is letter writing.
Oh.
It's something that's dying a death. I mean, who writes letters anymore? It's really sad. Everybody writes emails, and I think what's actually overtaken letter writing is women doing voice notes, where they tell you everything that they've had for breakfast and their little mini podcast. But I think letter writing has gone, like, to the point that I teach children, and I've often taught children at 5th and 6th class, and they don't know how to start a letter. They don't know where the address goes. They don't know how you should sign it off. And that's a real shame, because that's something we had for years upon years upon years. So yeah, the social custom that I kind of wish that we still had was letter writing. And yeah, expression. There's so many expressions that are fabulous. And I, originally when I was writing, I threw in so many of them because it was like, I want to show that I know these. And then I realised by doing that, not making the book accessible to people that maybe don't always read that genre. And I didn't want a case where people have to have a dictionary beside them to read the book and go, oh, hang on, what's that? Like, I love that. When I read a Georgette Hare, I might learn some new expression from the Regency. And I look up, but I'm a real Susie Dent. Like, I love lexicon, the origin of words and things like that, and the etymology. But not everybody does, and it also would take away from the reading experience. So I started taking them out. I was like, actually less is more. And then I kind of argued with myself, and I said, okay, look, I'll meet in the middle. If I throw in Regency expression, like Regency cant, it has to be in a dialogue between two characters. And the second character then has to explain what it means, so that as a reader you go, oh, okay, that's what they mean. So if I give you an idea, like if they said they were foxed, does anyone know what fox meant?
Drunk.
So the other character's like, how much did you drink? Or, you know, or if you say like, let's make me up of one, but like within ace aims, or within ace of, that means like within a hair's breadth, something nearly happened. But the other character merely has to put it back into our parlance so that we understand. And something great if people do get it straight away, but I want it to be accessible for everybody to read, and not for them to go, oh God, I didn't understand how was that.
Yeah. That sounds really good, Chele. I mean,
I gave it a lot of thought.
Yeah. 2 hours now.
I put a lot into, you know, it's horrible to take it out. If you put a lot of time into, oh, I want to put that in, and it sounds lovely. And then you realise, but you're putting off because they don't read this genre that much.
Yeah.
So then I was like, no, I need to take it out.
Yeah. I think you're doing it subtly enough.
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea, but you did, you know.
Oh, we see.
It's great.
We'll see.
That was good. Doesn't sound too obvious, you know.
Too obvious.
Very clever, very clever. Right, now, how do you create dialogue that feels authentic, you know, with the Regency community when you're so... Well, you're here now, you're in 2026, do you know what I mean? And we all talk differently and more maybe directly, or, you know, less like they might have done in Regency times.
I think just being a complete Regency era geek, I have read so much but I will tell you, when I'm doing dialogue, I think it's my years of acting, I'll actually play both characters, and then I'll be like, no, that doesn't sound good. And I will do it a few times. So thank God help anyone who comes into my library, because I'll be there talking to characters and putting on the voices and going, yeah, that's better. Because sometimes when you write something on a computer, you think it sounds brilliant, but then when you actually say it, it sounds desperate. So you have to, for dialogue, you really have to say it out and then have the response and see the pacing and see if it sounds right. And then I go, I'm not sure about that word. Would they have used that word? And then I waste so much time researching. Did they use that word? When did that word come into use? When was the origin of that word? Would they have had that word in England at the time? And one of the, I'll tell you now, this is like little secrets of what not to do. One of the words that I caught very much at the end, that like nearly snuck into the book, was I had at some stage full steam ahead.
Okay.
But the steam engine hadn't been invented. And I can't believe that it got through so many people reading it.
Yeah.
And because it's just in the middle of something that's like something greater, you know, storyline. People, and it's obviously so natural to us to say full steam ahead, that nobody picked up on it. And then when it was, it's like, oh my God, could you imagine?
The embarrassment.
The embarrassment.
Yeah. Get the fan out again. But you seem to be really good at being thorough about it.
I think you have to be.
Yeah.
But as I said, my nightmare is somebody's going to pull me up at some stage and go, oh, no.
I'd be nice to you if I find it. I won't. Okay, so you were working on Lady Dixon's niece, but you were also navigating a difficult health journey, Chele. So would you be comfortable sharing how that affected you?
Yeah, so I suppose I was nearly ready with Lady Dixon's niece. I thought I was. This is the thing about being a writer. Think that the last draft you did is going to be the final draft. But I was kind of gearing up that I would release it around 2024, and it was towards autumn 2023 I discovered a lump in my breast. Turned out to be triple negative breast cancer, which is quite an aggressive form of breast cancer. So I suppose it was a major disruption, an interrupter to my life, and kind of put things on pause a little bit, and had to go and get 6 months chemotherapy and radiation therapy and 2 surgeries and the whole shebang. But in a weird kind of strange way, it gave me a gift of time, because I wasn't working, and I was so focused that I really wanted to get this book out and get on with the series. So I spent a lot of time when I felt well enough, working and making this better and revising and doing revisions and edits and moving on to the second book as well, because I was determined that it's not just going to be 1, it's going to be 2, it could be 3. And thankfully I'm in remission and all is good, but it was a gift of time, and I'll cherish that aspect of it, because while I wasn't able to work from the fact that I was very weak and very tired, my brain was still able to keep going, and I really think I poured myself into the writing project, and it probably was a great motivation just to get through it and not feel sorry for myself that I lost my hair, or that I had to have surgery, that I have scars or anything like that. You just focus on, well, what is it that I want to achieve? And also you start to think that life can turn, things can happen in a blink of an eye, and you don't know if you'll be here tomorrow. So what is it that you wanted to do? And don't put it on the long finger, just get on with it and do it.
Yeah, I remember reading that myself, and I thought, I have to listen to this lady, and not to put things off. Because
we all do.
Yeah.
We do. We'll do that.
Yeah.
We're not so busy. We'll do that when things slow down.
Yeah.
But the thing is, things are always busy. And things don't tend to slow down, because if something finishes, something else takes on. So I was kind of saying, oh sure, I will get to finish that book, I will. But that sickness and the fact that I really it could have gone anyway. You don't know, really. It's quite aggressive. Thankfully it went the right way for me. But it just tells me, I just need to get on and do the things that I wanted to do. I want to spend time with my family, obviously, but to write and to achieve my life goal, basically.
It's a story of courage.
And stubbornness.
Stubbornness, yeah. And skill and ability and brains.
Let's decide that.
Thank you, Chele. Okay, so now you were talking a minute about revising your work, and making drafts, and then, oh no, that doesn't fit, or doing research on something, you have to change it or something like that. So did you think your first draft was very different from the final edited product?
Yeah, I suppose plot-wise, very similar, but there's a huge uplift in it, around the 50% mark. That wasn't in it, and that wasn't in the originals at all. That was kind of while I was sick, and I'm not going to say too much about what it is, but it basically, it's a turning point in the story, and I can't believe that it took me so long to realise it needed that. It needed that kind of change, stimulus. But look, things change, and I would have had verbatim read it here. actually sitting in front of me. So somebody I gave the book to, and she read it again recently for the second time, and I suppose 2 years have passed. And she's like, "You've changed loads of things, but I don't notice it." It's like when you see somebody every day, you don't notice them changing in appearance, but if you haven't seen someone in 2 years, you say, "Jesus, you look so different." Do you know? What's right in front of you, you don't notice, but I suppose it did evolve without me even noticing.
Yeah, so it was a happy chance for you.
Happy chance.
A chance. But also, it's part of the writing process, isn't it? It's like a simmering pot, you know, when you're writing something. And
Yes.
you come away from it for a bit, and then at least you had the first draft done, had you?
Oh, again,
Then
yeah,
you
I
decided.
had several drafts
Yeah.
done at that stage, but yeah, it needed a little bit of an overhaul and
Yeah.
a change, the tweak.
Yeah.
That's part of it. You start to realise you're not at the standard to be market ready.
Yeah, you're not ready yet.
Not ready yet.
Yeah.
And that's heartbreaking because sometimes, like, an editor told me I wasn't ready yet. And I was like, "What? What do you mean?" And then you kind of have to dust yourself down, give yourself 5 or 10 minutes to wallow and be like, "Oh my God, they don't know what they're talking about." And they go, "Well, they do. And you need to accept that now. And you need to work harder and dig a little bit deeper and go away and have a think." And I used to go walking around Belvedere House. I've been to Belvedere House, Bungar. I have membership for that. I used to just go around looking at the house going, "Okay, I need some inspiration now. How am I going to change this and make this better?" And it does, it comes.
Yeah, like you faced a wall really of, you didn't know what was going to have to change. So what did it feel like to have to dig deep like that?
Oh, as a writer, you're always going to have to dig deep, and I'm sure I'm going to have to dig deep many more times and go to the well. Yeah, and look, it's horrible when you're told that, but it's for your own good. So
Yeah.
that's it. It's like with anything else, you have to take the criticism and the feedback on board as well.
Yeah.
But it does. Like, nobody wants to be told that. You only want to tell nice things.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, you want to have a nice smooth learning, you know, to beginning and ending of your novel.
it is, the story is all the better for it.
Yeah.
I'm really glad. Like, the editor was spot on, and yeah, I can't praise her enough. She was right. She didn't tell me what to do. She just told me what.
Yeah.
That's
good.
good.
That's very interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you're self-published.
I am. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
What does that mean, Chef?
well, self-published means that I'm a one-man band, one-woman band. It means that I suppose, in many ways, have control over every single aspect of it. So it means that it stops with me, basically. I'm in control of writing it. If I wanted to get an editor, I did. I hired an editor. I think if you're going to prepare something to bring it to market, you really should get it professionally edited. I had an idea for a book cover, and I went to professional to get that done. And then after that, yeah, I'm in charge of the PR and the marketing. Now, I'll tell you, it's not that I didn't want to go with a traditional publisher. I did. Knocked on a lot of doors, got a lot of lovely worded rejections. Lovely worded. So nice. I did get some offers, but the offers I got, I suppose you have to have a little respect for yourself. When they're asking to take 90%, it doesn't leave you with anything, but just taking the story.
That's standard.
No, it's not. That's a bad deal, and I think if
If you get 10% royalties, you're doing quite well.
it should be about 45, 50.
On ebooks, but for print, 10% is good.
Yeah, I got up 2 offers where they were looking for 85 and 90%. I think if they were top 5, big publishers, and they were going to project me into the huge sphere up there,
Yeah.
obviously 10%, that would be wonderful. But when you see that they don't have huge successes and you're not seeing them on social media and you're not, I made the decision, no, I think I can do this myself and see how this one goes. And then cast the net out again and say, look, this is what I've done and achieved by myself. How much better would it be if you come on board with me and we work together? So we'll see. Watch this space. Maybe a publisher will come on board, maybe an agent will, maybe not. If they don't, I'm quite happy planning my own thing. Yeah.
I was going to say to you now, is paddling my canoe Regency, say?
Don't think so.
Right here.
And paddling sometimes can be drowning as well.
Oh, right. Yeah, very well. Yeah. Okay.
I'll be like a swan, it'll all be business on top and the legs will be going underneath.
Yeah. Oh, we know the legs are going. I know. I was going to say too, what has been the most rewarding part of seeing your book achieve
I
this
think
success?
just in terms of people falling in love with the storyline, because I've been in love with it obviously for years, but for them to be like come back to me and say, "Oh God, I love it," that's just wonderful. It's lovely, obviously, to see your book on bookshelves and bookshops, but to have people come back and be like, "Oh, I can't wait for the next one. When have you got the next one out? Oh my God, I have to wait. I have to wait for the next one." Oh, that's everything, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Great encouragement.
it's great. Yeah.
Lovely. Thank you. So, and the book is receiving rave reviews.
Yeah, thank God.
Have you got some in your head? There's some general feedback from some of your readers.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's
Sure.
doing great in terms of reviews. Like people just tell me that they love the language, that they feel they're being transported back in time, that they just flew through it, that it really hurtles along, and that they lost their morning, they should have been doing housework, and they're reading. That's nice because I didn't put the book down. So yeah, look, it's wonderful to get that feedback and that people are loving it and enjoying it. That's for a writer. That's good to know. Yeah.
That's great. And so, what we just said is the biggest misconception that people have about authors.
They're rich.
In a nutshell.
I think it's that you're going to be J.K. Rowling or
Yeah.
Freedom and Fanning. No, not rich. Majority of authors are on very modest income. Some of them are availing of grants to top it off
Yeah.
and doing lots of like story writing workshops, anything to supplement the income. A lot of us are working another job. There's a big misconception. I think the 1% think that's the norm, and it's not. They're the 1%. They're the elite. They're the society, and we're just the servants.
Oh.
Dancers.
Yeah, we can always change that, can't we?
Yeah. We'll see.
So I'm just going to say the last one, Chele. So Lady Dixon's Niece is part one of a social standing series. So how are you progressing in terms of the next?
I'm about halfway through the second book, and I'm itching to get back now. Obviously, this PR business, I have to do that if I'm self-published. Like,
Yeah.
I have no team doing this. This is me, and it's been wonderful and it's great. But it's not what I love. This is just you've put time into writing it. You need to put time into promoting it. I'm just itching to get back to actually my little writing desk and get into the storyline again and take up again. And people are looking for it, so I'm under pressure now to get it out.
Well, we'll be watching you.
Yeah, thank
You know, thinking of you as well. Because you will be digging deep.
I'll
won't
be
you?
digging deep,
Sounds
yeah.
like you've got those pressures pulling on you. So thank
Absolutely.
you very
Thank
much,
you very
Chele, for coming
much.
today. Do you want to show us this?
Just a few little slides.
PowerPoint,
Just,
okay.
and we talked a lot about it actually. So what is Regency fiction? So Regency fiction is fiction from the Regency era, and it talked about Prince Regent, and it is particularly those 9 years. So what is it that people love about it? Well, it's a genre of historical fiction set in Britain between 1811 and 1820. It's fiction that focuses on the strict social codes, and I think that's kind of what captures people's imagination, is that there was very strict rules about how things should operate. People can't just approach somebody and say, "Hey, how's it going?" You had to be introduced. There had to be calling cards. It was all very rule driven. Fiction that portrays rituals of courtship, and I think for females in particular, they just love that. They love that after maybe a dance at the ball, the fine young man might come to the house the next day with a calling card and a bunch of flowers and maybe some ices or chocolates, and would be interested in talking to all the family, not just her. Modern day courting, well, you might get an emoji of an aubergine on WhatsApp or a flame or something. It's not quite as romantic. So I think there's a lot of people that do love the element of the romance. And it's fiction that often makes social commentary about inheritance in the class system. You would have seen that with Maria Edgeworth. She wrote a lot about inheritance. So yeah, I think people are fascinated by that, fascinated by the differences in the class system, what goes on upstairs, what goes on downstairs. And look, it's people who love Jane Austen, love Julia Quinn Bridgerton and Maria Edgeworth, obviously, and Georgette Hecker as well. Oh, I have here. Does anyone recognise this scene?
No.
Yeah.
So this is the famous hand flex scene that a lot of women in particular who like Regency stories obsess about this. So why do they obsess about the hand flex? Does anyone know? It's that slow burn. It's you're not getting instant gratification. Like Darcy there isn't just going to take Elizabeth off and up to the bedroom. It's that you're being shown in little subtle clues that he's grappling with his feelings for her. She notices the touch on her glove and she kind of goes up. There's a spark there, electricity, and then you see in his hand that he's feeling it too. And I think that's what we love. We love the little subtle little bits that kind of go, oh, I know what's going on, rather than it being shown to us, explicitly. It's that show don't tell kind of thing. And then it's the appeal of the constraint, the longing is part of the story for most of it, and then when you get your gratification, it seems way more worthwhile than if you got it straight up like McDonald's. It's not quick and instant. It has to take time, and I think that's what we love. We love that slow burn, but you need to have the happy romance at the end. It has to be tied up. Escapism, we talked about that. Like generally they didn't delve too deep into politics or conflicts. It was just about the marriage mart and stories like that, because people don't want to be reminded of war when there's war going on in your own life, So I think that's the appeal. It's just easy to drift away and not think about the realities. And for some people, the reality of modern day life is not as pleasant as we have it here. So it's nice to just drift away into a different time, different place. And it does social commentary. And what I mean by that is it comments on women's place. So a lot of Regency writers, they defied conventions because at the time, the big bestseller, it wasn't the Bible. It was Fordyce's sermon, which was like a thesis on how a woman should be. And it was telling women, young women in particular, that they should be subservient to their husband. And they should be very modest with how they dressed and how they presented themselves. And they should really follow their husband's lead. Whatever their husband said, yes, dear, we'll go with that. But what you notice in a lot of Regency fiction is that the female protagonist has agency and she has thoughts of her own and is intelligent, and she's not going to succumb to just being subservient. She wants to be an active partner in the relationship. So I think it's interesting. It does a lot of social commentary on actually, should a woman's place be to be subservient, or should they actually be equal partners? And it's interesting. And I think a lot of people who are maybe proto-feminists see a lot of parallels in them stories. Just to talk about some of our Regency female protagonists. Does anyone recognise the first one? No, she is Belinda, Maria Edgeworth's Belinda, and she is quite has a lot of agency, and she had her own opinions and thoughts, particularly about morals. So I put her in there because she's quite a good heroine. Venetia, does anyone know anything about Venetia? Yeah. So Venetia, quite an interesting character of Georgette's. She is like approaching spinsterhood. She's about 25, which is quite old in Regency times to not be married. And she's pretty much running the family estate. She's looking after her crippled brother. And she by chance meets her neighbour who has been an absentee landlord. And he's known to be a rake, a real role. And she knows she should stay away from him, but anyway, a slow burn romance does ensue. But she's quite a feisty character, and I really like her. She really epitomises a woman with agency. And then, of course, Elizabeth Bennet. I mean, she knows her own mind, and she does not afraid to speak. So I think for a lot of women, they love reading about characters like that. And that's what, I don't know if any of you realise this, there's a huge movement against Jane Bennet in Pride and Prejudice, because they feel that she was very meek and kind of subservient. And you find a lot of people online in particular give out about her. Poor Jane. I didn't like Jane. But people give out about her, and they're real like, in the spin-off versions, because a lot of people write fan fiction, they're like, get rid of Jane. She doesn't do anything for feminism. So it's amazing how passionate these people are about these characters and their heroine. And then, so how does my book relate? What elements are classic Regency fiction? Well, social conventions, so I'll have all the social nuances of that you'd expect from Jane Austen. Rituals of courtship are there, the slow burn romance tick, a lady with agency, absolutely, Annalise Smith knows her own mind, and historical accuracy. What did I wish to challenge or modernise? I guess I wanted to include a little bit of war, so there's a backdrop of war in this book, the War of 1812, because it affects motivations of characters.
Is that not the American one?
Yes, the American.
Would it not the Napoleonic Wars have been a bigger?
Yeah, and that will feature in book 2 as well. So there's just a slight kind of reference because Lady Dixon has investments. And if any of you are aware of the War of 1812, there was kind of an embargo. So she's investments over in America. So she's going to face some financial difficulties as time goes on. There's unusual dynamics between the butler and Lady Dixon, which people are commenting on. I wanted to do that. It's a little bit of fun and maybe something a little bit different, where a butler is actually sitting down chatting to Lady Dixon, and you know something is slightly off there. That's not normal code of practice. So I wanted to give the readers just something a little bit different for them to kind of tease them and to work on, and obviously it will pepper through. And then, yeah, my book is a little bit grittier. As I said, there's one moment around the 50% mark that really throws and changes the dynamic of the story. And it is a little bit grittier than, say, your wholesome Jane Austen. There is a few moments where the character is put into uncomfortable situations, shall we say. And yeah, I really wanted to get through the moral dilemmas and the high stakes emotional drama that I suppose you would see with a lot of modern writers of Regency fiction like Julia Quinn, who does that so well. So that is my spiel, I suppose. Have you any questions for me?
Edward or Irish?
Oh, they're my two male characters. They're polar opposite brothers and vying. They're in a bit of a love triangle with Annalise. I can't say.
Yeah.
I'm not the writer. I'm sorry. I have to say.
So just some connections that came through this
Yeah.
in relation to historical accuracy. I was watching Miss Austen,
Oh yeah.
and in Miss Austen they said that Jane Austen was the first female writer to introduce a narrator, and particularly the unreliable narrator, into and 25 years earlier Maria Edgeworth had done it. So I said for the crack.
Did you write to them?
Well, for the crack, I said I'll fill in the query form on BBC, and I couldn't believe it that the editing, the commissioning editor of the program came back to me, and he apologised.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and he said that they relied on
The Jane Austen Centre or
the
something.
Jane Austen and other academics to advise them, and that they took it on board. So, and the other connection was just to say, where you were talking about letter writing. Well, a few months ago we introduced the Sunday letter writing program, and we're a hub for it, and we have it on social media, and we were amazed with the number of letters that we have received from all over the world. And actually, if anybody is interested, they're down in the office, and how the system works is people are looking to connect with somebody, so they don't have an address or who they want to write to. So we're a hub, and letters come here, and people come in, and a number of people have come in and replies have come through. We give them a photocopy of the letter that we received. We have them from Australia, we have them from Kenya, we have them from Canada, America. People looking for pen pals.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
And it's a wonderful.
That's great.
And if anybody wants to, you can get copies of letters. I've read through a lot of them. I've read through. and
You're to
just
bring back the
amazing.
letter writing campaign.
Yeah.
I love it.
Was it mostly older people?
No, not generally, but some now that have the youngsters have fled the nest and are looking for something else to do.
It's fabulous.
Yeah, but they're wonderful.
You don't think it's over anymore.
Yeah.
No.
They don't.
Yeah,
No matter, even they're not, and I blame their parents for that. Well, I am sorry, I do, because, I mean, even in the present of some of these kids, you have to find out from the parent whether
They
they
get
got
it.
it or not.
Yeah.
They don't even bother to say thank you or nothing, even if, I said, send me a text and tell me you got it. But you know, just.
Yeah. It's the same.
Really,
It is the same.
Well, the kids are not.
Just the other thing, and as you mentioned Bridgerton, and I don't know if
Yeah.
anybody noticed it, but in season 4, the current series, we have actually very accurate season, or the present season.
Yeah,
se-
Benedict
Series
season, yeah.
4, 20 minutes into it, the Bridgerton sisters are sitting in their library discussing literature. And there's a character in it, I haven't been following it now, so I'm not that familiar with it. I think she's an Asian girl that's working in
Yes, yes.
yeah. And she
Okay.
interrupts and she says, oh, I read as well. And the Bridgerton's sister says, and what are you reading at the moment? She said, I'm reading Miss Edgeworth's Practical Education. And then the Bridgerton sister asks her back, have you read it? Ennui, and she said, I have, but I prefer some of her other romantic novels. So that conversation goes on in Bridgerton.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
And you know what? There's so many people that will go, I wonder who that Edgeworth person is, and Google it afterwards, and then find out about her. It's great. It's wonderful. It's an endorsement.
I was very mad. I was going to work one morning, and this was in Houston, Texas, and I was listening to the National Public Radio, and they were saying one of the authors that was so easy to read and so brilliant was Maria Edgeworth. And I'm saying to myself, oh my God, why am I
Feel like you know her.
Oh, yeah, like I did, but
1812. So that's why the backdrop of that war of 1812, and it's peppered through. It's not, the war isn't a major feature, but it does affect some of the motivations of some of the characters along the way, particularly like financial investments and things that are a bit precarious now because of this standoff between Britain and America.
Okay, and was that a choice of yours as opposed to, I suppose there would be differences, you know, in the conventions and that between Ireland and Britain.
Yeah, oh absolutely. I definitely decided to set it in England because it's a bigger market for this genre. And that was, in a nutshell, that was the, and I suppose when I was thinking of it as a child, I always had it in England as well. But definitely it's a bigger market, and you have to, I suppose, if you're writing, you have to consider where will you get your readers from. Brilliant. You love, I have lots of Irish readers, that's fantastic. But there is a huge market next door. You can't turn your back on that really. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
Well, looking at your slide there, the Regency fiction, if I saw it correctly, was only 9 years.
Yeah.
And Prince Regent, does that mean that during that era, there was no king?
Yeah, so it was kind of, he was temporary.
yeah.
And I think in 1820 then he became King George IV.
And during the Regency, he was Prince.
Prince Regent, that's what they called it. So he basically was like the Prince of Wales, like the way Charles had him before he was king. But it was that, unfortunately, George III suffered from mental illness and he was no longer fit to make decisions. And so it just, but unfortunately, Prince Regent, he kind of wasn't taken seriously by the political system there. So he didn't have a huge sway on that or clout on that.
And
He
what was he
limited.
called when he was Prince Regent?
What was he called?
Yeah, was he called Prince George or?
He was just called Prince Regent, that's what they called him, and then he later became George IV.
But he hid him away, I mean, really, didn't they?
They hid him away,
Yeah.
but he, in another way, I suppose he knew that he had limited power and that until he became the king. So he focused all his energies on the arts and the culture, which he had a huge interest in himself. And I guess in some ways that was good because there was money then given to writers like Jane Austen and they benefited from that because it was it was like a little mini renaissance for the arts
Oh,
and
yeah.
culture. And I think that's why we're fascinated with it because it was a time of huge luxury and lavish extravagances and I think that's the spectacle probably brought attention sometimes whether it's good or bad just put a spotlight on a certain era and that era kind of holds our attention because of that. Any other questions? No?
So,
Yeah.
a couple of questions. Where does it set in the UK?
It is set in Bovington, which is in Hertfordshire. Primarily, it starts off in Devonshire, on the coast there, near Ashford, which is quite near Barnstable. If you're anyway familiar with UK geography,
Not that long. No. And have you got any books for sale?
I do. I have them here. I'm happy to sell them and sign them for you. And I want to thank my host as well. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Cheryl.
you very much.
Just before you go.
Yeah.
Last year, the lady we had in conversation with was Andrea Mara.
Oh,
And
yeah.
now she's making a fortune for herself.
She was rewarded for herself already. So Lorraine Murphy here is a fabulous author from Mullingar of psychological thrillers.
Yeah, dark comedy.
Dark comedy, psychological thriller. And she's currently under Andrea's mentorship. So she knows that. That's interesting. But nice of it, she says.
Say hello to Andrea.
Jean Granger.
Jean Granger,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, it is the dream, and some people reach there, but unfortunately for a lot of writers, they don't.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that they're not talented. There's some fabulous writers who are on very modest incomes, but that's life. Some people make it and some people don't. But yes, Andrea's doing great, and sure, we're delighted for her.
I just said two other things before you go. You can watch out for, I'm sure you know, Sandy Topsfield.
Yes.
Yeah, Sandy Topsfield was here 2 weeks ago, and Channel 4 has done a series which includes Maria Edgeworth, and that will be going out on Channel 4 in September. And the other thing is, people often talk about the success of Jane Austen in relation to Maria Edgeworth. And just to give you a figure, when Jane Austen was writing, the annual income, or the average income in England at the time was £55 a year. And Jane Austen earned £550
Wow.
over the lifetime.
Wow.
And Maria Edgeworth got £2,000 of an advance from her publisher for her novel patronage. So she would have, that's just puts her.
yeah.
She would have been rich on her own without any of her.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Unbelievable. Yeah. Thank you very much for your time.